Yep, I can hear you now.
What's going on, man?
Oh, nothing much. Like day off today, so just at home. You just finished work? Like,
I finished my work week out. Yeah, I was sick the entire time while I was working.
oh my God, that's not good.
Yeah, it sucked, but I'm out of it now, so I'm good.
That's
I'm getting
good.
over that cold. That's why I'm making some tea just so I can make sure my voice can last the entire talk.
Before we jump into the main discussion of cruises, first I want to know what kind of games did you play before discovering Blitz?
Um, I actually tried to go professional in a MOBA called Vainglory
Oh,
back in the day. It was a MOBA that was on iPad back before you had things like the League of Legends mobile and other stuff like that. But you actually tap the screen to do everything. To move your character, you didn't have a joystick or anything like that. It was incredibly intuitive gameplay. That the game died out, but I loved it.
like I,
I had played a
yeah.
game called War Robots, which became way too pay to win to actually continue playing. That was a rough one. It was also a really fun game.
Yeah, like I used to play when like years ago, the only game I used to play was Counter-Strike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I played Counter-Strike like 10, 12 years non-stop. And then I
I
started,
played.
and then I just, the first
Yeah.
mobile game I think I continuously played was State of Survival. I played that for 4 years. Bro,
Oh, nice.
the amount of money people spend in that game is insane.
On mobile game is just insane in general.
Yeah, like we're lucky to have Blitz where you don't have to spend money to play.
Yeah, but even then, still, if you want a ship like a new one, they basically make you spend hundreds of dollars based off the gambling stuff.
That's true. Like, how did you first come across Blitz and what were your first impressions?
Soulfire started playing it after War Robots became too pay to win to actually play anymore for him. He jumped over, and I'm not sure if you know this, but Soulfire is my dad.
Yeah, I know. I
So
spoke to him yesterday actually. Like yesterday or a couple of days ago, I spoke to him as well.
yeah, I saw you had that video up, a little teaser up for him
Yeah,
talking to him. I'm like, well, you already know what my personality is going to be like then.
yeah.
I'm just a mini me version of him. But he tried to get me to play the game for a while back when I was playing Vainglory. He's like, "Hey man, you gotta try this," because when it first came out, he was playing it. So I jumped over right after German battleships came out. They were the third battleship line in the game.
Yeah. Like I started playing in 2021 during COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then never looked back.
I forget what year the game came out. Honestly,
It's been a while. Like it's been a while because sometimes people share screenshots from years and years ago. I was like, what game is it? It looks so different. Like the screenshots, the
yes,
way it looked, everything.
it was simpler back then.
I mean, it's still kind of they still use same kind of software or something like from decades ago. They have to update that. But yeah.
Yes, I've actually said quite a bit. Like, hey, they need to work on updating the actual engine of the game itself.
Yeah. Like if you
And
see
if
a
they do that, it'll also help them to be able to update later as well. If they build it from a ground up, that'd be awesome.
yeah, that's so
They'd
true.
have more control over the code.
Look, I know cruisers are your favorite class, but what makes cruisers such an important part of the gameplay in Blitz, and why should players prioritize playing them?
So cruisers, sorry, have a little bit of a sore throat sometimes.
Ugh,
Cruisers in this game, they are DPM ships of the game, damage per minute.
yep,
So they are. I'm trying to think of this like for randoms because for comp it's different, and we're gonna get into that later. For randoms, typically you're going to end up with a specialty. Like, what do you like about a ship? Do you like having anti-aircraft defense? Do you like having high damage per minute? Do you like having chunkier salvos to hit destroyers with? They are a very good stepping stone into what you might want to play in the future.
Yep.
So, and there's a cruiser for everybody's playstyle in this game except for aircraft carriers. Like, if you like battleships that sit back and snipe, you can go up the Petro line, Hindenburg. If you like destroyers with quick firing guns, on Minnow, those are great ships. They help you very much to learn the game.
Yeah, that's
In
so
my
true.
opinion.
Yeah, that's so true. Like people, there's a lot of confusion when it comes to light cruisers and heavy cruisers and how to play them. People kind of play both the same way, but can you explain the difference between light and heavy cruisers in terms of roles and their play style? And how should players adjust their tactics based on the type of cruiser they're using?
Um, well, not only light and heavy cruisers being different, but because cruisers are always so unique and different, you can also like, well, for example, Minnow is not going to play the same way as Booster, but I'm trying to think of exactly how I would label it. Typically, your heavy cruisers are more of your backline kind of snipers. They're going to be able to heavily punish destroyers that go broadside, so you're going to be looking for that. Enemy cruisers that go broadside, you're going to be looking for those. While light cruisers are typically your guys who are going to flank a little bit harder, from my experience, and try to get into spots where it's going to be difficult for other ships to shoot at you. Like if you can get around the side of a battleship where it's got to be firing at other battleships, or it can choose you, that's an excellent position to be in. Like you're going to be the guys who are trying to get more crossfires. Um, Now there are overlaps with this as well because San Martin it plays a lot more like a heavy cruiser. You're going to be staying further back. You're going to be just farming ships. And then there's a couple other. I'm trying to think of the other ones, like Elbing, for example. It plays like a light cruiser. You're
Yeah.
not playing it like a destroyer. So I would say stop looking at the symbols of the ship and like, oh, it's a light cruiser, so it has to play like this. Every single type of cruiser is going to play differently than a different line of cruiser because Henry, for example, is the greatest flanker in the game, and it's a heavy. It's very difficult for me to sit there and match up exactly how playstyles of one type of heavy cruiser or light cruiser are because every single cruiser is different. It's not just heavy versus light.
That's
I
it.
can say though, for beginners, I would recommend going light cruisers because they typically have better AA and they're typically just better ships overall. They reward you more for your playstyle if you can make them work.
Yeah, that's true. Like right now, San Martin is my favorite ship. So yeah,
Absolutely, yeah, I completely get that.
like
San Martin and Minnow are my two cruisers that I have 100K average in because they're just broken. They just reward you so much for playing them.
no man. Like sometimes we just play double or triple San Martin just for whenever there is like an aircraft carrier kept targeting us. We're like, you know what?
Exactly.
Let's play double or triple San Martin and get these planes down.
Well, not only that, it's like as a random player as well. Let's say you're going solo and you're a new player. Having the anti-aircraft defense that San Martin offers is just excellent.
It's
It's fantastic.
not just that, the DPM on that ship is insane.
Yes, for beginners, I highly recommend playing San Martin or Minnow first because you might suck with them starting out, but they will teach you more than any ship in the game, and they will reward you more for any than any ship in the game, in my opinion.
That's so true. Like people, I usually play cruisers mostly as support role. What do you think? How do cruisers contribute to support role in battles, and what specific actions can they take to assist their teammates?
Are you looking for competitive play or are you looking for random? Because I can go into both.
Random.
Okay, so for randoms, typically at least from my playstyle recently, they take on more just damage per minute rolls. Like you can support, you can sit around your battleships, a defense ship. Like let's say you want to play Wooster or San Martin or Minnow. San Martin and Wooster play very well where they can hit and kind of just block anti-aircraft or block aircraft and use their radars to keep destroyers back. But they can also damage per minute. Like their version of support for some of the ships with higher damage per minute, like Minotaur, is the enemy cannot kill you if they're dead.
Yep.
With heavier cruisers, typically you're looking for your allied destroyers to get enemy destroyers spotted. Like for example, Hindenburg. You're looking for that because you just pop precise aim. If you hit an enemy destroyer that's broadside, you're going to take off half their health. That guarantee wins the fight for your allied destroyer if they're not going to run torps. I mean, it's random, so I can't guarantee anything, but
I mean, how does playing cruisers in tournament setting different from random battles? Like, what additional considerations should players keep in mind?
you can trust your teammates a lot more. So in competitive, if you watch any of the streams with me, you'll see me tank a lot more and push in a lot harder than I usually would, simply because I know if they're shooting at me, let's say, for example, in Tier 8 Roar of the Waves, I was playing Wichita. I would sit nose in and start pushing a lot harder than I should have, simply because if you're wasting your shots on a nose in cruiser who's 5 kilometers from you can dodge your shells pretty well, you can't hit the broadside battleships there in the back that are just crushing you.
Yeah.
So you can tank a lot better. You got to figure out how to maneuver better. Because, like, for example, smoke in competitive is not as useful as it is in randoms because randoms don't know how to fire into smoke.
No.
So you have to know how to maneuver as a cruiser to stay alive. And once you learn how to maneuver, the more you can like fake out shots and give enough broadside for an enemy ship to think they can do a lot of damage, but watch them, preemptively watch them and make sure you're maneuvering just before they fire their guns at you so you can wiggle underneath the shells. So there's a lot more team play going on with cruisers in competitive. You can do a lot more because you have teammates who are going to back you up and actually help you out.
Yeah, that's the main thing when you're playing randoms. Like you hardly see people trying to support each other. You get teams like that once in a while, but it's really hard to find a team like that where they support and they read your mind and do accordingly.
But yeah. Well, not only that, especially with like the destroyer play and cruiser play in competitive. Like if you have a radar cruiser or radar destroyer, if you coordinate that radar right when the enemy destroyer is trying to get somewhere or going broadside, you can destroy them. You can just crush half their health bar off in seconds.
Yep.
Whereas in randoms, you're not going to have your allied small one randomly just radar for you right at the time. There's so much coordination that can be done in competitive versus that. That's why I enjoy it so much more. But for example, I don't play a team. I'm not a team player in randoms anymore because people don't really deserve it. Like random players, they just don't play well enough for me to sit there and warrant losing my health bar to keep them alive when they're going to do 40,000 damage and live through the whole match and
Like
just
these
miss
days,
shots.
these days you see only two kind of people. One, they either like stay all the way back, or two, they rush in and get sunk.
Exactly. They
That's all
go
you
in
see.
and die immediately.
And if you're a destroyer, all you see two kind. One, they like completely go like stay away from the cap, go all around the cap.
Never fire their guns and drop torps and always miss.
Yep, always. I mean,
Otherwise, running into torps
I'm not
immediately.
talking about loyalers. I'm talking about tier 10. This happens more than often in tier
Yeah,
10.
the Shimakaze players, yes.
Yep. I don't know the Shimakaze's in your NA server, but in Asia server, bro, every battle you see Shimakaze.
Yes.
I mean, it's
I played a
fun for
game
me.
earlier. I sent you the clip for it. I played Napoli against a Friesland and a Daring. These guys have more than enough smoke to survive for a long time, and sonar for my torpedoes between the two of them, and they also have Daring torps. They could not stop me from pushing into them with Napoli because they were sitting still in their smoke, and I was just
Yep.
annihilating them.
Like that's what
You
I
gotta
did.
think more when you're playing destroyers. You gotta do something.
Like the thing is, if destroyers are in smoke and you're in close, like you're not too far but close enough, I would honestly just rush to the smoke. Like we can turn, we are in cruisers, we can avoid the torpedoes.
That's what I did. I just rushed them.
Yeah, some people just stay back or keep reversing away. Nah, just go forward because you're in a cruiser.
Yeah,
Like, can you
if
discuss
you can.
some? Nah, you go first.
I'm sorry, I keep going on tangents with this, but like for example, if you're playing destroyer, if you can confirm where everybody is on the map as fast as possible, the good players on your team will do so much with that. Because if you can say, "Oh, the enemy Smolensk is on the other side of the map, and I'm in Schlieffen," I can push down the side. Nothing can stop me.
Yep.
Nothing's gonna burn me down. Like as soon as you get information like that, I knew those guys were the only two on the side of the map, so nothing was supporting them. So I just rushed into them.
Like basically, when I'm playing Cold Bay, I pick my targets. I will keep an eye for where the German ships are, where the IJ like
Yeah,
Japanese ships are, because I
Russian
know I
ship.
I can set them on fire non-stop. So I keep checking where they are on the map and everything. And when they are spotted, I'm there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
The faster for a spot, the better.
that's so true. Like, can you discuss some different gameplay scenarios? Like, for example, the scenarios you were in, and what kind of strategy, like the strategies that you change based on situation.
Is this once again? I'll ask for this. Is this tournament play or is this random? It's just
Just
me, right?
random, the battle started, and there's
Okay.
like just example of scenario that you're part of.
So for the longest time, I'd play the cap. When I first started the game, I would go around the cap, try to figure things out. Like, oh, this map's cool. We just roll around, have no idea what I'm doing. And then as I got better at the game, I realized caps matter. They win the game for you. So I started playing them, and then recently, and my win rate's been actually increasing playing solo this way. I've started flanking again. I'm not going for caps anymore. I'll get the caps later. Caps are no use to you and your team if you die getting them.
Yep.
So the best thing to do is flank and see if you can pick off a kill or two, and then you can get the cap.
Mm-hmm. Like,
So oftentimes, especially with Schlieffen and Napoli, I'm rolling up the side of the map, waiting for my destroyers to spot. And as soon as they do, I will crush whatever can kill my destroyers the fastest.
one more thing is don't fire your guns as soon as the battle started. Surprise the enemy
Ooh,
destroyers or enemy cruisers. Keep going to the cap. Stay undetected, and then go for it. But if you keep firing
yeah,
before you go to the cap, you're done. If there's a battleship watching you.
yeah. You the big thing with that is don't fire your guns as soon as you see somebody,
Yeah.
especially if you're a higher damage per minute ship than that they are. Like, let's say you're a Des Moines, for example, and you're rolling up the side of the map, and you see a Hindenburg or a Petro, and they're pushing. Don't just start shooting at them. Wait for them to get right on the edge of your detection, and then fire at them because
Yep.
they're going to panic. They're going to freak out. And if they don't, they just sit there, they're going to die anyways because you just have superior damage.
Shoot at them, but don't go straight to them. They will smack you.
Yeah, yeah, but like I said, it's try to make sure you're in the optimal position to make sure they can't escape
Yep.
whenever you get somebody. Don't just immediately start shooting your guns
Because
because if you do, they'll turn around and run away.
when you're playing cruiser, don't take away that surprise factor. You can literally surprise there's some of the maps, like example Cage Epicenter. Like if I'm playing Napoli or something, I literally go to
Yeah,
the island on the side because I have concealment.
exactly.
The amount of times I slapped destroyers and light cruisers at that island was so many times.
Well, not only that, if you can get lucky and have a destroyer go a little bit wider with you and spot for you,
Yep.
if you're in a Minotaur, San Martin, Napoli, Des Moines, Buffalo, ships like this, if you can just sneak up along with them, and as soon as they spot a destroyer, just melt that destroyer down as soon as humanly possible, because they aren't going to expect you to be there if you're dark. They think it's a 1v1 between them and a destroyer, and you show up and just destroy them.
That's so true. Like, people often forget about positioning and the map awareness are really, really crucial for cruisers. What are some of the
Yeah.
tips you can share for improving these skills in positioning and map awareness?
Um, a big thing is honestly patience. Being more patient with your game. Like for a long time, I just push in and just like kind of just make something happen. Patience. Wait for the enemies to like start the games. Wait for them to be spotted. See where they are and how they're laying out, and see which targets you can punish the most. Like let's say this is a good example, and I actually had to teach some of my cruiser players this on my team for World of the Waves. If you see a half health cruiser running away, and then you see a full health cruiser up front, and there's an island between them and their only escape route, who would you shoot at for the enemies between those two?
You mean there's island between me and the full health cruiser?
Like let's say you're in open water versus these two cruisers, you have the advantage. There's an enemy cruiser that's half health that you've been firing at that's running away in open water, is going to go dark. Like at some point within the next 10 seconds, they will go dark. You probably can't kill them. And there's an enemy cruiser that's full health pushing up, that the only escape route that cruiser can do if you start winning is run into an island if they turn away.
Yep.
Who would you rather fire at?
I'm not firing at the ship that kiting away because he's gonna be undetected soon.
Exactly.
Because you
Look
see,
for
like that example, that's a great example because people tend to push to get that ship that kiting away, but forgetting what's in front of them.
yeah, exactly. Start looking at the map, because not only is map awareness good to like see where ships are on the map, but as well, if you see an island between you and an enemy ship, like, or I should say, the enemy ship's escape route, they can't go anywhere. They're stuck in there with you. You can often get a lot of kills on light cruiser players who don't realize there's islands behind them, because if you strip half their health off, they're going to immediately turn away, run to that island, and there's nowhere they can go.
That's so true, yeah.
So pay a lot of attention to the islands, not only for yourself to hide behind and work with, but also where the enemy ships are placing themselves. And if they can't escape, that's who you focus.
Also, keep moving behind the islands because some good players can see where your shells are coming from and slap you
Yes.
hard.
Keep
Yeah.
moving in your smoke. Keep moving behind islands. Um, I'll try to go into more, like a little bit more in depth with some of this here. Um, Try to keep an island between you and whoever you're not firing, because if they can't see you and you're not shooting them, odds are they're not going to look for you unless like a really sweaty player.
Like usually when you give like 10 seconds, they tend to go like turn away and then you can go after them again behind the island.
Yes. But like what I'm saying is, like, for example, let's say you're 1v1 a cruiser. If you can get an island between you and anybody else who might interfere with that fight, you're better off, because now it's just a 1v1 and your teammates can potentially help you out. But if you're in open water fighting an enemy cruiser, you don't know if an enemy battleship might just shoot you and make you lose that fight instantly.
Nah, that's so true, spot on. Like as we were discussing before, flanking in the randoms on the tournaments, what are some of the pros and cons of using flanking strategy with cruisers? Like, what is the most effective and what should players be cautious about?
I think, I'm trying to think of that here. Like, effectively, I'm not going to lie, if you are really good at dealing damage and putting damage on the right targets, flanking is one of the most powerful strategies a single player can use in this game. If, like, let's say 6 players are fighting for the cap, you have 1 player flanking, getting crossfire. If they're in a higher damage per minute ship, they are going to do some serious damage to the enemy's team. But once again, for flanking strategies, don't over commit to it. Like, have patience for where these people are, because if you run headfirst into somebody, like a Shimakaze, for example, and you die, you've just wasted the entire potential of that match. Like, if you gotta wait and figure out where everybody's gonna be before you just run down the side by yourself. Um, like, pros and cons. Obviously, you're gonna get high damage. If you know how to effectively put down damage, you're going to win a lot more. But if you don't, if you struggle to get yourself into positions or you get spotted too much, you're going to probably be a lot less useful to your team than somebody who's going into the cap and fighting for it.
Yep.
And you got to play the right ship for it, because if you're playing a Petro, don't go down the flank and start trying to get some extra damage.
Yeah.
That's not what it's meant.
Petro, there's like you mentioned before, like Henry IV is one of the best flanking ships, but
Yes.
that ship got really good guns but no armor, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that if you run, don't, like, for example, have you played it?
I don't have the ship.
So one of the elite bonuses for it, I think this traps a lot of people, is it's elite gun operator, as far as I'm aware. But the other one, which is far more important, gives you 10% better acceleration and 5%
Oh,
more speed.
damn.
So if you run that with acceleration mod, you basically have the exact same acceleration as an L-Wing with acceleration mod,
That's
like
crazy.
9 seconds.
That's crazy.
So you have bad armor, but if you stay at 13, 12, like 12, 13 kilometers with engine boost running, you're going to outrun. Like, if you're good at speed juking, that's what they call it, when you go from stop to full speed. If you're really good at that, you can just dodge the shells that are coming your way rather than tanking them like a Hindenburg or a Petro would. That's why it's so good at flanking, is because if you stay at distance, you can pop rapid reload, dodge some shells while you're there, and then you can kind of weigh your options whether you want to go dark, like go concealed, and wait for your rapid reload, or if you want to continue farming damage and wait for your rapid reload to come up, depending on who's firing at you.
That's true. Also, I've seen so many teams play Petro and Hindenburg in the tournaments, like so many teams. Sometimes every team played those two ships. So why are they so
Yeah,
important in tournaments?
because Hindenburg has one of the highest slapping power of a destroyer in the game. So back when my team played it, I had Blue Gaming Dino in Smolland with his radar. So we would call out the radar, and I would wait for an enemy destroyer to go broadside and hit him with 12 shells. Not only that, its damage per minute's like over 70,000, which
Whoa.
for a heavy cruiser, that's really, really good with the range it has with leg mod. And
Yeah,
you do run like, you have 14.03 kilometers with legendary mod and historical camo. So that's a big reason why you run Hindenburg. And plus, it's sort of tanky. You got to make sure you're maneuvering with it to try to dodge shells as best as possible. But it's a very tanky, very good sniper, high damage per minute, and for some reason, it can citadel battleships at 14 kilometers, and it can also full pen destroyers with AP at like 5 kilometers.
that's
Its
crazy.
AP is the weirdest thing possible. And then you have Petro, which is literally Petro's entire gimmick as it just doesn't care.
Yeah,
It has Kremlin armor. It makes every shell it hits it like a half pen or just a full pen instead of a citadel. It's skinny. It's really low to the water, and the guns are consistent. They don't have good DPM like Hindenburg does, but it just doesn't care. It's basically an extra battleship.
and what's the range on secondaries? Is it 7 kilometers?
7.05 kilometers, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, for Petro.
Yeah, that's
They're not great
crazy.
secondaries, but they're good enough.
Yeah,
Plus that back gun's 360, so you can literally sit nose in, wiggle back to the right, for example, shoot your back gun, wiggle nose in as somebody's firing at you because your maneuverability isn't good, and continue that turn to get your gun off on the other side of your ship. And you can kind of just do that little dance back and forth.
Like I got Petro recently. I would say like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And man, such a fun ship. I don't have the camo, but I have level 12 Kuznetsov. But man, that ship hits hard.
Well, I run Makarov on it. At
Oh
least I
man,
did.
that's insane. Like
I have
most of the time,
Makarov, I have
mo
Amon, and the War
I
Bear camo.
I want Macro next time when he's out there. I'm gonna get him. Like when playing Petro, I mostly in randoms just use my friend guns, like against BBs and cruisers. Bro, they hit really
Yeah.
well.
So back in the day, I was playing Petro. My destroyer got messed up. I think I was playing with Blue Gaming Dino at this point in time because we were playing against an enemy aircraft carrier, and the carrier was just hard focusing him the entire game. So I was basically out on the flank by myself. I was getting hit by the aircraft carrier. I was getting hit by a battleship and a Moskva, and I was still bullying the Moskva out to outside of my range. He wouldn't come in to fight me because I just didn't take any damage from him.
Also, people should remember like Petro is very good against cruisers and battleships. You have to keep it in mind. Like her shells bounce against destroyers, so
They've overpowered. They suck against
they
destroyers.
absolutely open. So keep switching your shells.
So I actually was going to bring it up as well. If you play Petro in randoms, I highly recommend you find a good destroyer player to play it with,
Yep,
who's going to be solid, like a gunboat destroyer player who can take care of those for you because you can't do it by yourself.
it's
You'll
just
get
hard.
bullied so bad by destroyers.
Like in randoms these days, you keep playing. If you play solo in randoms these days, if you're a cruiser player, like the most probably you will end up like MVP in your team, but on a losing side.
Yeah, depending on which one you play.
Yeah.
Um, there are certain ones that I wouldn't recommend. Like Petro is something I would not recommend playing solo. But ships like Minotaur, San Martin, Worcester, Napoli.
Oh,
Like
Sam.
Napoli has an answer to everything but aircraft carrier. It's got really low detection. It's got smoke. It's got all these kind of gimmicks to keep it alive and keep it going. San Martin, Minnow, and Worcester have great anti-aircraft. They have radars and sonars, smokes. Like they have all these kinds of stuff and really high damage per minute.
Oh, I
So
love
if you're
Napoli.
going to play, if you're going to play solo, play something that has an answer to at least 3 of the ship classes in the game.
Yep.
Like Hindenburg only has answers. Technically, it has more answers, but its lack of maneuverability kind of leaves it to struggle against battleships sometimes, and aircraft carriers mess it up really bad. It's good, but doesn't have exactly the perfect answer to everything. And Petro has terrible AA and can't fight destroyers. It can only fight the 2 classes super, super well. So play something with a little bit more broad of a stroke to fight things with than just the specialists.
That's so true, man. That's so true. Like, what advice would you give to new players who are just starting with cruisers, and what foundational tactics should they focus on mastering?
Like I had said earlier, I highly recommend you start out with something with like San Martin, Minotaur, Worcester. Is do not overcommit. Be patient. A big thing is, and I hate to tell people how to build their ships out, but
Oh,
in your
you.
second and third slot, run acceleration and concealment. Those are the best things you can possibly run for those lighter cruisers because if you don't, you get spotted too early, you can die very quickly.
Like
Map awareness is really, really important.
yep.
Remember this as well. Don't play caps if it's suicide because you can get a cap, but if you die doing it, you are no longer used to their team and they'll take it right back. So play more patience. There's 7 minutes in a battle. Play to live above all else. Like don't just run in there because if you die quickly, you've effectively made it a 6 versus 7 quickly for your team.
That's
It took me a long time to learn that. Like 15,000 battles in, I was still playing like it was a competitive match, and I would tank for my team and just die and nothing would come of it.
Yes. Okay,
So
then.
definitely play for yourself to live. If you can support teammates, great. That's fantastic. But you got to learn your own positioning first to realize how you can effectively help them.
My first line in the game, Cruiser Line, was I first started playing German Cruiser Line, and when I got Königsberg, bro, that was one of my favorite ships. Königsberg and then Nuremberg, what a ship. And then I stopped at York. I never went back. That was three years ago. I stopped at York and never went back to that line. I finished Worcester. That was a joy to get Worcester.
So when I first started playing, I went up the Des Moines line. It was like one of the only, I think there was like 4 cruiser lines in the game at the time. There was Minnow, Des Moines, Zao. No, there's 5 because there was Moskva and Hindenburg. I went up Des Moines. I got to Baltimore, hated the ship with a burning passion, and went up the entire German battleship line before I got Des Moines.
Yeah, now I got every line I think except Marseille, Venezia, and then IJN. I'm not a big fan of IJN ships, but yeah, those 3 lines I don't have, but everything else, yes.
So I love Venezia. It's one of my favorite ships in the game, but it's terrible. It's literally true. Um, I made like so one of my fleet mates challenged me and one of my other fleet mates, Matt, to he said Marseille is better than you think it is, and it's better than Henry. We took that personally. So what does my dumbass do but spend enough gold to free XP down the entire line just to play the ship and realize how bad it is? I played Marseille. I think I played maybe 10 battles in it, and I hated the boat. Never play that ship ever.
Oh
That's
god.
the best advice I can give new players. Don't play Castilla and don't play Marseille.
Bro, you know what? Like in Asia Trail of Tridents Tier 10 tournament, we had this player playing Marshall. Like in random battles, this player only plays premium ships like FDR, Atlantico, Smolensk, only those ships. But when it came to tournament, he played Marseille in every battle, got sunk in every battle. Like first person to get sunk in every battle he played. I was like, mate,
Sounds about
you.
right.
I was like, mate, you have Slava, Black Republic to play in the tournament. You chose Marseille over them.
Well, what probably happened was his teammates said you're not playing Battleship because you're not good enough.
Oh my god.
That sometimes happens where you specialize in a certain class, but you get out overshadowed by better players.
Oh, it's crazy.
But if you're gonna play Marseille, which I don't recommend, don't play it in comp.
No, all
Why would you
he
do
was
that?
flanking every battle. He was flanking, and he got focus fight, got sunk in 90 seconds.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic.
Yep.
I mean, you have all the guns in the front of your ship, so why wouldn't you play islands? No, let's open water flank. Say, sounds like a great plan.
That's crazy. Yep. I think
So
I'll. Yeah. Continue.
for new players, a good bit of advice that I've learned over time is do not trust any heavy cruisers that come out that are new. Every heavy cruiser line they have released since I've played this game has been terrible when it first came out, and most of them still are. Castilla, Marseille, Golden Lion, Venezia is pretty bad now, but it was really good when they first brought it out, but they nerfed it into the ground. But then you have ships like San Martin, which play like heavy cruisers and are better.
You have Genon if you're good.
Yes.
Genon, you have to be very careful. Like when you to show broadside, when to fire your guns.
Yes. But it teaches you. It
Yes.
rewards you for good play. That's why I recommend light cruisers over heavies, because heavy cruisers don't reward you for the good plays as much as light cruisers do.
I prefer
And you'll
light
get punished
cruisers.
more.
I definitely prefer
You'll
light
get punished
cruisers.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Most heavy
definitely.
cruisers have no good anti-aircraft defense. They're ships like Midway, Hakuryu. I would say FDR, but FDR doesn't care how good your AA is in anything. So,
Yeah, like these days, every time I get up, first few battles I play in Jinon, and then I go to San Martin, Napoli, and then Bayard in Tier 8.
ooh, by art, nice.
Yeah, so that's my everyday grind. Only cruises most of the time, unless there is like 4 or 5 battleships in 2 3 battles, then I change to battleship, or else yeah. But I
I
I,
play
I usually change to
decent.
Cold Bay if there is like 4 or 5 battleship. I
Dude,
love it.
I don't know where you get these 4 or 5 battleship matchmakers from. I'd love to have that.
Oh man, yesterday yesterday it was crazy. In my team, we were playing triple DDs and there were triple battleships in enemy team. We were like, oh my god, this is great.
I would have loved that.
I was playing split and there was like double Amagi and Izumo. I was like, come on, fires. I got 13 fires.
Actually, have you gotten a chance to see the battle cruisers from the IJN? Like, have you seen them on your server?
You mean the new ones?
Like, yeah, the Bungo or whatever it's called.
They're not released yet, but
I thought
I've
they got released in early
I
access.
no, I only saw maybe once or I only saw the tier 8 one couple of times, but I have never seen the tier 10 one.
I haven't seen one either. I was hoping you guys had more of them.
Nope,
They look interesting.
never. Like, I mean, you see so many Izumos and Yamatos playing like idiots in Asia server and of course Shamas. It's like everyone that downloads the game, they're like, oh my god, we want Yamato, let's get it. So I really like when I see Shimas in enemy team, I don't care. I never get worried. But when I see good daring players or French destroyers, like stuff like that, there's some players who plays cruisers really, really well. Doesn't matter what they play.
Yeah,
Like sometimes people their skills doesn't matter what they play, they just play really well.
I have Steve from Rage is like that. Matt from Rage is like that. Those guys are epic.
Like
I'm sort of like that, but not really.
I reached out to Valk, I think a couple of months ago. I asked him if it's possible, like even for 2 days, to have a tournament where I can bring all 3 servers together, or even 2 servers, just for 2 days. Like whether I
I
can.
would love to do a world championship for the game.
I spoke to him like
Could you
two.
imagine that?
I asked him a couple of times actually, please, just for a couple of days, if he can bring NA players, the only tournament players to Asia server, or Asia tournament players to NA server, so I can have a comp with 2 servers. Yeah.
Well, I mean, for example, my team from Rage, we play on EU because we got tired of NA.
Oh, bro, you should come to Asia.
I wish I could, but unfortunately, like the times you've hosted, I think last Rule of the Waves, somebody was saying it's like 8 o'clock in the morning for us, and I can't exactly do that when I'm playing at 9 o'clock at night for NA and in the middle of the day for EU, and have to work around it with my work schedule or life in general.
Asia ruler of the waves is 9 a.m. for you on Saturday and Sunday.
It is.
Yep,
Oh, okay.
yep. It's
It's
11
not too
a,
bad then.
it's 11 p.m. for me. That means 9 a.m. for you.
Well, we also need a count because we don't have any right now. But we'd have to figure it out. We have to like grind up new accounts, and we barely have time to grind up the EU ones
That's so
as it
true.
is.
Well,
Like if we could get press accounts for it, oh my god! Like it's like
I know,
let's
right?
say if we'll get it and make it like a world championship. Oh, I would love that.
Oh man. You know what? I'm doing a fun tournament in Asia in November. It's tier 2 and 3.
Oh my god! Hey,
Yep.
everybody got ping high so they can play that.
Yeah, I'm bringing it to NA after the Asia one.
I can't guarantee how well it'll go over, but I'd probably make a team for it because of the stupidity.
I'm gonna make the rules, the registration rules like Seas of Seas, where you have to register solo and then we random pick the teams.
Oh, that's GBRT. That's not SOS.
Oh yeah, GBRT, yeah, true. Like that. Let's see. Are there any upcoming events or new ships in the Blitz that you're particularly excited about, or is there any specific cruiser you would love to see added to the game?
Do you follow Peace at all?
I watch Potato
Peace
Quality
versus
sometimes.
yes. So there, did you see the Spia?
Yes, I did.
I'm very excited for the Spia.
Oh man.
I think it's like what crawling smoke. It's got Ragnar guns, except it's got an extra triple turret on top. Some torpedoes that have excellent DPM. I would love to play that ship. It doesn't seem like it'd be the best thing in the world or the best ship in the world, but it'd be so much fun to play that ship.
Bro, it's gonna happen because we know every ship in the PC are joining Blitz sooner or later.
Yeah. Something I would like to see in the game as well is a light cruiser for the Germans that has Elbing guns on it, like a couple extra
Ooh,
guns on it.
yeah, that would be fun.
Did you see the Weissboten at tier 8?
Yes,
Could you imagine that, but tier 10 with Elbing guns? Like an Atlanta class type looking ship with Elbing guns at tier 10? That'd be awesome.
that's a nightmare. Elbing guns, bro. Elbing people think, you know what? It's so hard to play, but that ship Citadel's BBs for fun.
Yes, I was like the main person on North America who got everybody to realize Elbing is a lot better than they think. Nobody realized that Elbing's good up until I played it.
Oh man.
I
All
do
right.
think it could use a little buff here and there, but
I'm not a
like for
destroyer player.
example, let's see if it doesn't work.
I have to get Hindenburg, man. I have to get it. Like I'm just scared of Rune.
Played in
Ranked.
or respawn.
Yeah, I have to wait for tier 9 respawn and get Rune and then grind it straight away.
Yes,
That's
because Rune sucks, but Hindenburg is
worth it.
a gem of a ship.
I will. That's my next goal. I'm grinding Gdansk at the moment. I'm not a destroyer player, but I have legendary commander, so I'm grinding Gdansk.
Yeah,
So
I
let's
never
see.
ground that one. I'm staying away from that thing. So far, people have not realized how broken it is yet, and they haven't played it much. So I'm kind of hoping that like it'll just be a forgotten ship that never gets played, even though it's broken.
Someone was saying that ship belongs in super ships category.
It does.
Yeah,
It's truly one of the most broken ships of the tier, but they don't realize it because they're dumb. Or they're bad and don't know how destroyers work. They think if you smoke up, you're invincible, not smoke, and they don't know how to dodge.
that's so true, man. Like, luckily we don't see many of Gdansk in Asia, so there's only few players that play that ship. All right, brother. That's all for today.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing me on. I hope that
Of course,
you
man.
know
Thank you so much
you
for
can take
taking
something
time.
good.
Thank you so much for taking time.
If anybody has any questions as well, like I'm not exactly the greatest person at explaining things on the spot quite as much, but I can give more advice in like DMs or in servers. And I try my best
Absolutely,
to help
guys.
people out
You can ask
with
more
more
if
in
you have
depth.
questions when I upload the episodes. Make sure you ask questions in comments, and I'll make sure Alister get those answers for you.
Absolutely. Just let me know when the video is uploaded.
Definitely, brother. Thank you so much, man. I wish you good luck.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, hope everyone enjoyed that episode. In the next one, we will have Bis and Doggo from Roller of the Waves Asia. Following that, we will dive into Battleships Masterclass, CV Masterclass, and so much more. I'm really excited for you all to hear what's coming up next, and thanks for the continuous support. Stay tuned.